I'm Dani Wallace, and welcome to Be Inspired. We are here at the Impossible Manchester. We bring together the best speakers in their field to teach you all about spiritual connection, business growth, personal development. It is a one-stop shop for lighting up your life and your business.
I've seen Dani on Facebook, so I was curious to find out more about her and how she works. She's got an amazing energy to her.
I came today so I could sit in the audience and soak it all up, having spoke at the last Be Inspired.
I attended on Zoom in April and it was fantastic, and it had already changed my life at that point, so I knew that I just had to be in real life this time.
Be Inspired is an event where you can come and recharge, reinvigorate, get yourself plugged in, hyped up, ready to take on the world. Some people want to connect with their business and their mission message and share that to a wider audience. Some people want to reconnect with their story and use their experience as somebody else's survival guide. People often come to me and think, oh, I want to be a speaker on stage, and this process is so much more than that. We hang out like the weirdos, like the crazy people, the people that actually do something with their lives, that plug into things like personal development, safe spaces for us to grow, to learn together and to support each other.
I have loved every minute. I am super pleased that I've nailed what I wanted to do.
The whole experience with Dani, she really helps to pull that out of you, and she helps to make sure that you're prepared, and she's there like holding space for you the whole way, although I thought I was going to get my pants.
It has pushed me completely out of my comfort zone, but I've done it and it's an incredible experience, and now I want to do more.
There are a few ways you can get involved with Be Inspired. One is to join the Be Inspired Mastermind. Every 6 months, I open up 20 spaces for 20 incredible people to share their business and their mission message, and also work with me to really hone their talks so they can go and get booked, reach more people and make more money, honey. Or if you're not quite ready for that, just come and be in the room where it happens.
Be Inspired has been just such an incredibly positive experience for me.
Go for it and spread your message, because really powerful things happen when we all get together and connect.
You've got to be here, be inspired.
If you're thinking about buying a ticket to this event, do it now.
You can join us at the next event of Be Inspired on the 31st of March and 1st of April 2022. You would be a fool to miss it. Good morning everybody. Welcome to the Short Wise Up Rise Up show this Monday, the very last day. Is it the very last day of February today? Is it the 28th, or is tomorrow the last day? No, today is the last day of February. What even is that? It is March tomorrow. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. Well, I can believe it, because that's what happens with the passage of time, isn't it? In due course. That's just what happens. But very, very, very good morning to you. I hope you are all feeling good this Monday. Welcome to the Short Wise Up Rise Up show with me, your host, Dani Wallace. Today feels like a big day here up at IATQB HQ, and it is a big day because tonight, Amy Blaney, stop it. She's saying it'll soon be Christmas. Go on, Amy Blaney. That's not right. We're not ready for this yet. But the Short Wise Up Rise Up show on a Monday, what we do is we check in with each other, with ourselves. We set our intentions for the week. Allowing yourself to check into the show really does help keep you on that trajectory of forward movement. And you can engage with the show in lots of different ways. You can watch along live here on the Queen Bee Dani page on Facebook, or in my free community group, which is called the IATQB Hive. It stands for I Am the Queen Bee, which is a free space for you to go and share your challenges and share your successes so that we can help each other show up, rise up, rise up together. You can watch over on LinkedIn, and let me know if you're watching over on LinkedIn. We have been graciously given the capability and the authority to go live over on LinkedIn, which is not given to many. So I'm quite pleased that we've got that. So hello if you're watching over on LinkedIn. Mondays is all about setting our intentions. Wednesday, we have Wise Up Wednesday, where often we'll invite guests on to have conversations with us and to teach you different things about aspects of life development, business development, personal development. And then on a Friday, we reconvene and we talk about all of the things that we are celebrating in the week. Now, today is a little bit different. And indeed, the next few weeks are going to be a little bit different. The month of March, which we're going to secretly kick off today, is going to see us interviewing and speaking to a number of different, fantastic, wise, incredible, phenomenal, inspirational people. Today is no different. Today, we've got a couple of guests on, and I will introduce them in just a second. But before I do, I want to say, while I've got you all together, that this evening at 7:30 p.m. is our kickoff call, our community town hall Zoom meeting, where I'm going to be sharing with you how you can get viscerally, actually, in real life, properly involved with the Fly Anyway Foundation. So for those that are new, the Fly Anyway Foundation is a foundation that I've set up to help survivors of domestic abuse not only plug into business, goods and services. That's just the first wave. That's just the first stage. But we are going to be growing in the next 3 to 5 years a national network of refugees, crisis support and employability assistance and business support assistance. Please, 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 if you are in a position to support, want to find out more, or indeed if you've experienced domestic abuse, you don't have to disclose anything on the call this evening at all. But if you are nosy or interested, or if I've ever helped you in the past and you want to understand more ways that you can give back or help, please, will you let me know? Get in my DMs. I'm going to post up in the Hive on my personal profile, all over my socials, how you can get involved. All you need to do is click the link. If you're on Instagram, follow me at the Queen Bee Dani. It's in my stories, and the link is I want to help. Click that link and sign up. We will see you tonight at 7:30 for our community town hall meeting. I'm going to be sharing with you how you can get involved tonight. The work starts, which is, I mean, from my perspective, this is becoming a dream come true. I didn't realize just the kind of impact that we were going to be able to have in such a short space of time. I did our first call to garner interest about 18 months ago, and then lockdown sort of scuppered all of our sort of trajectory plans. Now the world is opening back up again. We've got the investment from some fantastic corporate sponsors who completely believe in what we're doing, which means that actually we are in a position to fly, but I need you. So please make sure that you join our town hall meeting at 7:30 this evening. More on that a little bit later on. But for now, I want to bring on to the show one of my sisters in business. So you most of you will know that I have a very close-knit, tight-knit circle of powerhouses who are my friends. And not only my friends, they're my business partners. They are the people that I support with their growth. They are the people that support me with my growth. And I always, always, always make sure, as best I can, whenever I'm able, support them when they've got good things to share. And this week, one of my incredible friends has got some really cool things to share. And this morning, we're going to talk all things press. So please welcome to the show this morning one of my darling friends and colleagues and business partners and just wonderful all-round sisters in business, the glorious Jo Swann from Chocolate PR. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Woohoo!
Look at you. Look at your glitter background and your pom-poms out.
Yes, woohoo!
Starting a Monday morning. I'm here for a bit of this. Good morning, Jo Swann from Chocolate PR.
You're right. Look, it goes with your brand colours as well. We're perfectly
matchy.
Perfectly aligned today. So yeah, we are starting with a bit of sparkle on this Monday, aren't we? It's a bit dreary, it's a bit miserable, but we're not having any of that. We're going to have some fun this week.
Yes, we absolutely are. And yes, it may be dreary and miserable outside, but it definitely is not within our community and within your community as well. Tell us about the PR party. You're the only person that I know that will actually throw a week-long party.
Do you know what? I just want it to be real. I actually want it to be real life. Like, as we've started planning it, we've got so excited about it. And we were like, can you imagine if this was actually like real people all together going through all of this one day?
Right.
One day. But for
it's
now,
happening. I can see it. I can feel it. I've got lipstick on my teeth. I'm like, I can't. Before somebody sends me a message, I've noticed it. And there's a top tip. If you've got lipstick on, do that and you catch all of the lipstick. There'll be no more lipstick on my teeth. I'm sorry to interrupt you with that, but that would have bothered me. And someone would have messaged me later saying, do you know you had lipstick on your teeth? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, she's
Gone.
nailed it. Fine, it's all
Back
good.
over to Jo.
So what we have got good on this week. So one thing that we are really focused on this year is celebration. So this is our word of the year. It's a word that I decided to embrace at the beginning of the year when I was trying to find a way to get more comfortable, well, I suppose, with being more in people's faces.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so it's my way of like helping us get visible to help other people get visible, because it's not a natural thing for me particularly to be out there like shaking my own pom-poms going, we're rock, we're amazing. But we need to do a bit more of that to be able to help more people. So the way that I kind of sat with it was, well, what we're going to do is we're going to find loads of opportunities to celebrate our incredible community, our incredible clients, and our wider world, and give them opportunities to celebrate them. And that feels good. That feels a really nice message around PR, because that's kind of, for me, that is what PR is. So
I think when it comes to PR as well, like we've worked together in the past, you actually the very first OG Be Inspired alumni, and I remember us having that first conversation around, you are a wizard at what you do. If we look at all of the PR that you and I have created together, or that you and your team have created in terms of opportunities for me, it's been insane. We've had numerous TV opportunities featured in Forbes magazine, like all of the big ticks we've managed to pull off in not a huge space of time at all.
Yeah, a short space of time.
Like we're regularly in print. I see myself on the bloody newsagent stands. People are starting to stop me in the Trafford Centre. You, Dani Wallace, and it's all down to you guys. And I remember us having that very first conversation at the beginning, and you saying like, we're really, really good at what we do. It's speaking about it, which is it's kind of like the first hurdle for every business, I think, is actually sharing your message. And this is where you and I work so well together, and you do this beautifully. And the very fact that you're leading from the front in terms of utilizing the word celebration, having it sit really comfortably with you to put yourself right at the forefront. Say, if you want great PR, then one of the things that you're going to need to do is come and get involved with us, because this is what we do. It's like that meme, isn't it? It's what we live for.
Yeah, I know I should do one of those, but I'm a bit scared still. I think the other thing is, it's scary for some people, isn't it? So you're really open, and we've had such a brilliant relationship because you are happy to take our advice, to run with things. We work together in collaboration, and we come up with really incredible ideas and creatives and ways to celebrate you and to celebrate your journey and your message and what you're doing and what you're bringing to the party. And this is what it's all about. It's about what people are bringing to the party, like what your work is actually doing in terms of helping other people out there in the world. And that's, I think, where this celebration idea comes from, because when we get people to understand that what they're doing is they're celebrating the impact of their work, and they're celebrating what's possible by sharing more of that, then it takes away a little bit of the fear of the actual logistics of the press and the media and how you
and the worry with the ego of it all. Like, many people that I work with go, I don't really want to blow my own trumpet. And here's the thing: if you want to make impact in the world, you've got to toot that trumpet, or you've got to get out of the band. Like you've got to be able to turn up, play your instruments, and shout about it and amplify it. And you do this day in, day out for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phenomenal entrepreneurs, particularly every day. And I mean, I want to celebrate you in the first instance, because the things that you've achieved in just the 3.5 years that you and I have been friends it
is kind of bonkers, isn't it? And do you know what? My LA pictures are nearly back, so you're going to be excited to see those. There's a full-on celebration like vibe going on with the fact that I was out in LA mastermind with Nick Pigeon. Like, what the blinking hell? What came from
hitting with the big hitters.
So I am in that space where I'm going to be walking the walk. I'm out there celebrating me. My book is like underway. I'm so excited to get that out there this year. The podcast is doing really well. And it just felt time. It felt time to do something that kind of brought in another wave of people and, took like another wave of people with us. So we've got our fabulous clients that we work with. We've got a really great community. But I just feel that there's still so many people out there that are still scared of PR, that don't get it, that are nervous about it, that think it's not for them or think that they're too young in business. And the PR party is like a really fun, casual way of dipping your toe in, having a little see, like getting to know us, and just getting used to this idea of celebrating what you are bringing to the party. And we're going to give people loads of opportunities to showcase themselves, promote themselves, like champion themselves and each other, as well as doing some teaching and some learning. So.
And we've got some of that going on this morning. So we've got a very special guest joining us this morning. Tell us a little bit. I'm just going to make the screen like ready to receive our guest this morning. But just give us a little bit of an introduction to our extra guest this morning, Jo.
Okay. So our extra guest is a part of us, I guess, providing opportunities for our clients and our network. So our extra guest is one of our fabulous clients called Rachael, who is in our mastermind. And Rachael has won the prize to be here today sharing her message, because she really stepped up and really owned being able to communicate what her mission message is all about. So this is like some of the really early work that we do with our clients. And one of the things I love about Rachael is she kind of lives in her own little world. So she won't mind me saying that.
She won't mind you saying that.
But she's realised that she needs to get out of that bubble, and she needs to spread this message, because actually what she does could impact every single one of us in a really powerful way. And I'm really excited about her getting involved with the Fly Anyway Foundation as well, because I think there's something that she can really bring to the party there.
Yeah,
so
a big day for Fly Anyway in all by all accounts. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. So
we're here to celebrate Rachael, and we're going to let her take to the floor so that she can share her mission message with everyone.
Amazing. So without further ado, please welcome to the show, Wise Up, Rise Up show, Rachael. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
You are very, very welcome. Most welcome. The work that you do is phenomenal. So Rachael, tell us more about what it is that you do.
Well, I work in property, but from a slightly different perspective to most people, because I think property is very personal. It's the way that women, and this is how I got into it, women can make a difference for their families, because most of us are brought up to believe that, finance and everything is very masculine. It's a thing.
It is very masculine.
Yeah, it's a thing he does.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I hadn't got that memo. And
we didn't get the memo about masculinity in the workplace either. Like, you're in good company.
Well, I was an army wife, and we moved 18 times in 23 years.
Wow.
And although I had had a career before I got married, that wasn't possible. And it suddenly struck me that, not only was I not earning, but I wouldn't have a pension. And what happens when I get to 65? Do I have to rely on the state? Do I have to rely on my husband? I haven't got a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen then. Right. And so I took my savings and I bought my first buy-to-let. And straight away, I realized that this was the way to financial freedom in my own way. I could fit it in around my life. It wasn't something, you always have to give up something normally to make an improvement in your life. A property, no, you just tag it on. That's the great thing. And I could do it whilst I moved, and it's made such a difference. And I think women are really good at it, because it's down to two things. It's being able to budget and being able to do man management. Well, if you run a family, that's what you do. Otherwise, your children don't get out of the door at 7:45 in the morning. And so that's what I have been slowly pushing over, because I've been doing this for 20 years now, and making women realize that they too can do it. Because when in the wider property world, it's very masculine, and you do get couples going to training courses. But it's always the men of the family that turn up, not the women. But actually, it's often the women that are doing it behind the scenes. But interesting enough, most of my clients are women. And they are doing it incredibly well. They do it in their own way, because they're not trying to build multi-million corporations. They're making a difference to their own families. So that could be 2 houses. And they also tend to network with other women. So it's not seen visibly across the big sort of property world, because they're not interested in tooting everybody else's horn. They're interested in doing what they're doing for their family.
I love that.
Such a different way of approaching. Yet I have to say, when I look at my address book, it's stuffed full of other women doing the same thing. And if I've got a problem, I ring them up.
I love that.
My closest friend in property is a woman.
I was just going to say, I think that's really interesting, and that's one of the things that you're really passionate about, isn't it? Actually showcasing the fact that there are lots of successful women doing this. So tell everyone a little bit about those sort of 3 strands to your mission.
Well, I want to inspire more women to do it, because the message that comes out normally is you've got, as I say, to make millions and pull all your money out and get hugely into debt. And I don't think women's minds work that way. So I want to inspire more women to realize that actually just a few will make a difference. And no, you don't have to be hideously in debt, because it's a long-term proposition. So, that's how you can get into it. But also, you've got to run it as a business. This is not a little hobby. So you've got to actually knuckle down and do a bit of learning. And then once you've got the basics, you can run with it, so that you don't get caught out, that you do have proper people helping you with your mortgages and everything else, and that you don't squander your money, because you can make a lot of money out of property. And also, I feel that most women do things to give back to society. Now, most men, when you talk about property, will be talking 100% profit and all these big numbers and ROIs, and they come out with so many 3-letter abbreviations, it's not worth it. But women talk about who their tenants are, who they've got living there, what kind of house they've given back. And that's one of the reasons I got into it, because I could have put my money into the stock market, but I wanted to create houses for families to live in. And, I have houses where I've got domestic violence people in it, or I've got single mothers, all that sort of thing, which have to have slightly different arrangements for their houses. Well, you set them up in the right way. And women are prepared to do that, because they're happy to know that if this is a 20-year investment, they don't need to make every single penny back. They can give something back to the community. And that's what they enjoy. They can go to bed at night feeling, I've done something else. Because if you look at the volunteer numbers, who does the most volunteering in the country? Women. Right. Normally they do it for free. This is a wonderful sort of backward way of doing it, with profit and help.
It's a holistic way of doing it. I think when it comes to giving back, and I'm saying this to everybody, it doesn't all have to be for free. You can still give back and work within a really cohesive business model. If I look at, the work with the Flannery Foundation, for example, cohesion and business models fit really well with this. And then when the profits come in, then you get to choose what to do with those profits. You get to choose what to do with the outputs of that labor. It's okay to say, for example, you're working full time in that particular arena. It's okay for you to be able to garner your living off of that as well. Then everybody's helping everybody, and we all do well when we all do well. And the more that we think about that, the more that we kind of get outside of the only way that we can give back if we're giving and we're not receiving, that kind of takes away the energy of everything. I think if we are working in flow with giving, like this, giving and receiving, then we keep that energy really strong, and it makes us want to do more, right? Is that just me?
No, but it also, you see, if you just give something to someone free, they don't value it. So
I found this time and time again, wanting to help people, and I've gone, I'll do this for you, and then they don't invest the time, or they don't take it seriously. And I think, well, sometimes I've gifted things that are worth thousands to people, and they've just not taken it on at all. They've not understood the real gravity of what it is that they've been given, and don't do anything with it. I totally hear you on that.
And that's partly why you've got to run this as a business, because you can't run out of money if you're paying somebody else's mortgage, which is what you basically are if you've got a tenant in a house. Because if you get repossessed, your tenant is going to be chucked out. So you've got to manage your money properly, and that again is coming back to this giving stuff away for free. So a lot of people say to me, well, why do you charge for your courses? Well, if I don't charge for my course, people don't turn up. Because it's back to that free bit. It's of no value if it's free. Why should I turn up? Why should I do anything? And it is one of those things that you have to realize that it is, as you say, a sort of a circle. I make sure that my money is in a proper house and it's fit for you. You give me your rent, and it's part of your understanding that you have this lovely house, but you have responsibilities. It doesn't infantilize or patronize people who are living in rented houses. Then they're invested in where they're living, and it does actually make for a better society.
I hear you.
And it does. But lots of my clients have got, yes, they do make large sums of money out of property. Of course they do. But one or two of them go, But those houses, 3 or 4 of them, will be for the blind, and they will actually work with charities that they are very fond of, and they don't make a lot of money out of it. But their business over here makes enough money for them to be able to deal with that.
Exactly.
That again is something women are so good at.
Seeing how they can move funds around. It's very clever. It's like you're saying, if you've run a household, for those of you that are parents, for those of you that run a household, you're thinking at any one time about a million different things, aren't you? You're thinking, oh, where the kids are, we're picking them up, who am I cooking for? Not only that, if you're a full-time business owner, then which clients am I dealing with? What's the profit and loss? What's our business growth looking like? As well as looking after all of these things. Like, our roles have completely rounded out. We've become all things, and we've understanding that that's actually become a very tenacious superpower that we can use to our advantage. Instead of being overwhelmed with it, we can think, well, actually, how do we surround ourselves with more people like this? How do we grow teams within this sort of culture and this mindset of continual growth whilst we're all looking after each other? And Abby Horn, sorry.
It's also pulling, you when you hear other women starting to talk about things, it may not have occurred to you. It's not for me. It's not, because as most people think, if you see the average estate agent, there are women out there, but most people think of a man. Most people think of a builder as a man. Well, actually, my best plumber is a woman. And all that sort of thing. And it's when you sit down, you talk, and it's all very casual. And then suddenly somebody else goes, yeah, what am I going to do for a pension? How am I going to do that? And somehow talking to another woman who is doing something makes them realize that they can do it too, because it's also assumed that if you're going to invest, because this is basically what you're doing, investing for your future financially, you've got to be clever. Well, no, I totally disagree with that. I've got clients who can barely read and write.
I am proper not clever.
They can do property. They understand the concept. It's really simple. And the other thing is that women's egos are traditionally, though of course there are women with enormous egos, but generally the ones I meet are quite happy to go, I can't do that, so I'm going to outsource it. Now, who do I need to get into my team to make that happen? They're quite happy to work with other people. Because without it, they can't.
Absolutely.
And I suppose that comes back to the fact that most women are used to being surrounded by people all the time, even when they're bringing up small children, because you can't do that in isolation. You have to go out to play groups. You have to go out to other places to meet other people.
Yeah.
I've got a question, because some people that watch the show of a morning, we're really blessed with our community, Rachel. So we've got people who are multi-millionaires. We've got people who are just starting out, hairdressers, TV presenters, pop stars, and business coaches, and all sorts of people. So a really wide range, broad spectrum of people that watch along the show. So for some people, this will be a part of their positioning and their financial planning, and at the moment they will be able to do this. They'll have some money in the pots, they'll have some savings and what have you. What about the people who may not be at that point yet, and feel like this is completely out of the realms of what it is that they would be able to participate in? What would your advice be for those people who might think that this is just a pipe dream? This is just something that's so far outside of the realms of my capability that I just cannot contemplate it, because it's not as far away as what people think, is it?
No, it's not. It does depend on where you live, of course.
Yes.
For someone
Central London, you might be buggered.
London, then that I think I might be a twiglet before some people. I'm not, never will be. It can be a pipe dream. But if you're living in some areas, actually, this is much more affordable than you imagine. So, for instance, where I invest in Stoke-on-Trent predominantly, lovely Midland place. But you can, even now, you're only looking at £10,000. I know I say only, but that's considerably different from, say, down south. Now, you may not find that, you may not have that in your pocket today, but if you know that that's where you're going, why not put your savings aside? Why not get that little jam jar starting to fill up? Because unless you start to promise yourself that that's what you're going to do, you're never going to get there. You've got to have some goals.
I think that's the key thing here, isn't it? It's knowing where you're heading towards, as opposed to, like, it's very difficult to save if you don't know what it is that you're putting into the pot for. If you're kind of saving for a rainy day, there's not a lot of incentive. There's lots of rainy days, so the pot ends up dwindling quite quickly, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got this really clear goal and you know at the end of this, it's going to make you money, make your family more comfortable, that actually squirreling that away isn't that an arduous a task when you can see how it's going to help. I find when I was in a position when I was struggling, I couldn't see past the end of my nose, didn't know how to buy a house, didn't know how to create a business to generate the kind of money. As soon as I knew how much money I needed to buy the house that I wanted and the things that I needed to do to improve my credit score, all of a sudden I had a path. All I had to do was walk it.
Absolutely. And the other thing, of course, is that everyone normally, when they start talking about buying a house, they think that they're buying their own house where you've got to pay that mortgage. But if you buy the right house in the right place, you don't need that much money because your tenant is going to pay your mortgage. And so therefore, yes, you are looking at something. And I suppose you've got to be someone who can wait. You've got to be, this is not fast. You're not, despite the advertisements, you're not going to be buying your yacht next year. In 20 years' time, that house is going to have gone up in value and will give you your pension. And that's the sort of idea that you've got to sit down. And when you first encounter it, you do go, that's impossible. Then you go away and think, no, it's not possible now, but it's going to be possible. It's like going on a diet. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and realize you've lost.
I've had a salad. Am I skinny?
Yeah. So buying your first house, no, you're not a millionaire. You will be and millionaire is a term that doesn't mean £1 million in my book. Somebody who's got very little will feel like a millionaire if they've got food on the table.
Right.
So it does depend on where you are and what you're doing, but the dream can still be there and you can get going. And I think it's being able to find that information that makes the difference. It's switching on light bulbs that's the important thing, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think that's why I'm so excited by you really stepping up to be visible, because this stuff goes under the radar, and certainly the conversations in these kind of circles don't always appear. So just tell us why you're so passionate about actually coming out behind, out of your bubble to try and really get your message out there.
Well, I've worked in property, as I say, for 20 years. And I think the problem is that most people don't see this as, one or two as making a financial freedom different. They're all the world talks about is making huge sums of money.
Right.
And we don't need to make huge sums of money. We need to make enough for our lifestyle and our family and make sure that you do it safely so that you don't bankrupt yourself in the way forward. And one of the reasons I want to come out, so to speak, and make a lot of noise about this is that I'm so unlike everybody else, because I go, well, I don't want to own hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I want something that works for me, and I think that's what more people need to be thinking about. What works for me? How can I use what I'm being told to my family's advantage? And so that more women, you see, because I've got, I was talking to Jo, I have two friends. I don't have many divorced friends, and these are two. One has no money at all. Her husband has spent it all. She has no property. She will live in rented accommodation for the rest of her life, and she's fairly miserable. The other is equally miserable because she's just divorced, but she's financially safe because she's got buy-to-let houses. And those buy-to-let houses give her space, basically, to get her life back on track. To realize what she can do on her own and go forward, not just going, well, my life was ruined in the middle of it because I met the wrong man.
People power back, aren't you? And I think that's one of the things you like about it. Yeah,
it does and it gives you chances. You don't know what you don't know you need for the future. So people can find that, yes, they've bought a house and suddenly their children need something. They can sell it. They've got the means to do what they want to do rather than going, well, it's all right for him. And in these, COVID has really brought it home that some people thought they had really safe jobs for life. Overnight they went.
Right.
Yeah.
But, if you've got a house that's bringing you in £500 a month, that's the difference between, being on no money and being able to feed your family.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
And that is why more women have got to say, actually, how can I put into the family coffers? I'm not just bringing up the family. One of the things that absolutely shocks me, and I work with most people, but one thing it's a complete red flag to me is when they say, well, I'm going to refinance the family home to buy a house, which is not a problem. And I go, oh, what does, Mrs. think about that? And he goes, oh, well, I haven't told her because she doesn't, have any input financially. So it doesn't matter.
Hell no.
Whoa, red flag. What happens when you can't pay anything? Where are you going to put your family when you're chucked out? I've never had a woman say that to me.
It's very interesting and not surprising in the slightest.
No, I'm not either, because she'll think what will happen. And that is why women have got to actually realize that they may be just bringing up the children. That's what I did. But you actually have the chance to do something else. And it doesn't have to be the most amazing career in the world. We don't all have to be brain surgeons or be politicians or anything else, have big salaries. We can do something quietly on our own, in our own way, without a lot of noise, that will long term completely change the way at the end of our lives work. And then hopefully have that terrible problem of inheritance tax.
Yeah.
And don't you just love her approach to it all? Like, don't you find it so refreshing? Like, I've not really heard much in this space, like being discussed like this, this approach to property, making it so much more accessible and breaking it down. And that's why I'm really excited by what Rachel's doing, because I just think she's bringing this conversation, she's making it really real.
Yeah, and I think that making it accessible is the most important thing. I think we've got, again, particularly in this community, our shared communities, Jo, obviously the people that you'll be hanging out with, Rachel, is that there's this whole pool of amazing, phenomenal people who might not have all the finances nailed yet, who might not have all the revenue streams nailed yet, who might not know what to do. They might have just inherited some money and not know what to do with it. They might, what does that look like? How do we look after ourselves? I tell you, it's interesting, being a millennial, particularly for me, is that the conversation around pensions was not a conversation that we had. In fact, I've actively got people in the finance industry saying that pensions aren't paying out what they used to pay out. They're not as strong as what they used to be. It was an unsexy thing to talk about. Millennials don't like talking about unsexy things. They like talk. They were very like, let's have things happen right now, right here. And as such, we're getting to our 40s now. And what's in the pot? A lot of the answer for a lot of people will be nothing as it stands. I'm hoping to make enough money right now, because I can trust the money that I make right now, as opposed to putting the money away, because I don't know what's going to happen with that money. With property, it's a little bit different, and it makes that sort of long-term saving a bit more visceral, doesn't it?
Yes, and I think that you've just touched your finger on that, is that people do inherit money throughout their lives, and unless they've got people around them that goes, this is it, this is your moment when you get given money, do not waste it. So I regularly buy from people who are in terrible financial distress. I've never yet come across someone who can't afford their mortgage. What I find is that people can't afford the mortgage and their credit cards. And it's the credit cards that have taken them astray. And that's because they don't view spending on future as important. Every year they go on a cruise. Every year they go on an amazing holiday. But they don't realize that youth goes, and so does your money flow. And suddenly you have nothing. So one of the reasons I want to spread the word more is that people can sit there and go, well, we won't have a cruise this year. What we'll do is we'll put that money aside for our future, and we'll put it somewhere where we can see it grow. Because with the best will in the world, I so get why people don't put money into bank accounts, because you can't, it doesn't
do anything. You might as well put it in a piggy bank now.
Yes. Well, not only does it not have interest, but it is boring, and you just get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm a very visual person and tactile. I can go and stroke my buildings.
Like the wallet.
Yes. When I'm doing up a house, one of the first things I'll do when the plasterers have been is stroke the walls. If you've never felt plaster, I do advise you go and do it, because you get such a
headline here, I stroke the walls of my properties.
But I do believe in putting that energy into how we moved into this house. First thing I did was sage everywhere, even though it was brand new. It was built on farmland. There's nobody lived here before. I was saging everywhere and touching. There wasn't actually like thanking the house. Like, I hear you.
Yes. I mean, you can, and I get that. It is something you can see, you can touch it. That's your money.
Yeah.
And it's somehow much more, real to you when you can see and feel it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what's next for you? What are the next things that we're celebrating? Have we got any press stuff coming up? Is there anything that we can get involved with, Rachel, so we can learn more about all of the incredible things that you do?
Well, I'm bringing out an online course later this year for solopreneurs, because most women are, because they don't have time to go and do things. So, and which will be in bite-sized portions, so they can do an hour a night or whatever, so they can prepare themselves or get going or whatever they need to do. And at the moment, I have accountability calls, which sounds very funny, but actually, most people who work on their own, they need to click in once a month, every 2 weeks or whatever it is we're doing, and go, this is what I've done, and everyone goes, oh wow, amazing. Or, they go, I don't know how I've got a nightmare. For instance, this morning, the police knocked down a front door. What do I do? Because, this is quite normal, actually, in the property world, the police taking your front door down. And the answer, once you had it happen once, is this, this is how you apply to your insurance company. And so it's that sort of group work that I enjoy as well, where I bring more people together. Because I have to say, I've really enjoyed finding Zoom before lockdown. Because as I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. I would have to go to somewhere, travel, and we'd have a nice conversation, and we'd both get in our cars and we'd go back again. But having Zoom means that last week I had someone from Scotland, someone from Gloucestershire, one from Bristol, me in Suffolk, all talking property together for an hour and a half and pushing each other forward.
That's brilliant.
And it is that group strength that just goes, no, we've got your hand. You can do this.
Yeah,
absolutely. And without that accountability, it kind of jumps to the bottom of the pile. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you then, Jo.
No, go on.
No, just talking about things like when you don't have that accountability, things do go to the bottom of the pile. That's why accountability is so important, I think, when it comes to any kind of growth, financial growth, personal growth, business growth, whatever.
But
having that
for women, because they put everyone else first.
Right.
So I will often find that, if there's a couple, she will pop onto the course once the children are in bed. But very rarely is it the other way round. And if something hasn't happened, it's because, a child's been sick or whatever. I mean, everyone always, I remember that nightmare when I had a child with flu and I'd collected them from school. And it was one of those critical moments in a refurb when I had to be on site, or the place would have gone down. So I wrapped her up in a duvet and a pillow, and she was in the car outside the window. I could see her. She was quite warm, and the builders were horrified. And I just went, well, what do you expect me to do? I am the sole carer. I can't stop my job. You've got sick children, but you've gone out to work today. This is my life, and this is how we have to do it. So I think women do need to be given that extra support to make that what you're doing is fine. You've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah, put that arm around each other, like that's so powerful, and that's what we're so lucky to have between us, like with me and Dani in our world. Like, we are so lucky to have that, and we're bringing you in, Rachel.
I love it.
And I think also it's because there are a lot of women out there in the property world, but they tend to have that female sort of quietness about them, which is why we work so well, because we just don't do the bullshit generally. There are one or two we do.
We're busy, like we don't have time for the bullshit. We're like connect deep, like get there quicker, and then instead of it just kind of being all surface level business, we kind of go deep and then get stuff done. I don't know if you find that as well.
Yeah, and also you often get group of men, especially because there are, bizarrely, if you're not in the world, you don't realise that there are enormous groups meeting up all over the country in the evenings, or who do property. And it's quite interesting because when you go in there are really groups of men, and the first question they'll always say is, how big is your portfolio?
It's all dick swinging. We don't have time for dick swinging.
Absolutely. And it's hilarious because I just look at them and I think, well, are we talking? And you can, depending on what you've got, it depends on how many buildings you need.
How big's your willy? You might as well just ask that, isn't it? Shut up.
The answer is always, it's not how big it is, it's what you do with it.
It's the motion of the ocean, fellas. Take notes.
And and it's quite interesting in that the girls will often not just ramrod their story or their mission across, because they just look at the chats and they go, be a waste of breath, frankly. I'm just going over there and I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And that's why many women don't go into those spaces, because they don't get it, but they should do, because you've just got to cut away the bits that don't work for you and go,
Right.
that's what I need to do. That's who I need to speak to. That's the information I need from her. Now I go and do it for myself.
Yeah.
And, as I was saying to Jo, if only I get a couple of more people enthused this year, I'll have succeeded, because you've just got to, basically light that touch paper and get more people enthusiastic and more people wanting to do things. And
you.
Yeah, and producing houses that people can live in.
Amazing. Well, Rachel, how do we get in touch with you? How do we find out more?
Well, I have a website, which is Rachael, and I spell my name AEL for those of you who always wonder how to spell it, rachaeltroughton.com, or you can drop me an email at rachel@rachaeltroughton.com.
Beautiful.
You're both there. Sorry?
Podcast.
Oh, yes. Silly me. Here am I talking visual. I completely forgot about audio. Yes, I've also got a podcast called The Property Solopreneur. Which is predominantly, so funny enough, only had one man on it so far, and he was a young chap called Arthur. But that, again, every week, it comes out on a Monday. It's all about how you make property work for you on your own. So we talk about everything property and that sort of thing. So you can find me in all sorts of places.
I love that. Please make sure that you pop your links on wherever you can see this show. Rachel, you are more than welcome to. Please do go and check out Rachel and her podcast. Really making this whole concept of property purchase and property portfolio that bit more accessible. And I think for most of us that are on this trajectory, having that on the goal board, on the vision board, if it's not right now for you, you don't have the savings in the pot, that's okay. Knowing where to go and having somebody like Rachel there to sort of educate, support you is worth its weight in gold. Rachel, thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I have loved it.
Oh, fantastic. That was Rachael Troughton, everybody. And you are Jo Swann from Chocolate PR.
Yes, what a breath of fresh air. Like,
amazing.
I just love that I get to work with people like this. When I first met her, I knew that she had something to say. And she's not shy, as you can see, but she was holding back on what the bigger mission was and the bigger impact that she could make. And so we dug and we prodded a little bit, and we like poked here and we poked there, and we like stroked here and hugged there. And what came out was this massive mission to help more women feel empowered through realizing this is possible for them, through showcasing what other women have achieved to make it actually feel like something that is doable, and for just ripping up, a lot of the rule books about how people think this is done. So,
and I think the younger we get this conversation in, the better. This is something, I mean, from where I grew up and how I was growing up, definitely not the conversation that anybody had with me. Nobody talked about property investment. That was outside of anybody's sort of realms of thinking. But the sooner we can introduce this conversation to our children, the better, as they can see that, they don't have to grind the same kind of hours that I'm grinding, for example. If we can get them set up in a way that's going to pay, dividends for them a little bit later on. Jo, what else is happening this week? Tell us, because this was a blinder this morning.
Well, so straight after this, at 10:30 in PR You Can Do It, we've got a really lovely way to ease into the week with the fabulous Laura Rowe from Alive.
Ah, yes!
So
Laura Rowe is going to be speaking on the stage and be inspired on the 31st of March, day one.
Oh, I can't wait to be inspired. That bloody promo gets me every time as well. I'm like, oh, yes, it's coming. We will be sharing lots about being inspired as well in the coming weeks.
So we've got Laura
at 10:30 in PR You Can Do It, and she's setting the scene, so she's going to help us get in the right mindset for success for the week.
Really into that.
Like chill out Ibiza tunes while she's getting us to do some breath work and to think through like what we're going to achieve, what are our goals, and then she's going to boost it right back up and like pump it up at the end. So finish with some nice energy. And then we've got 3 days of actual PR training that's happening from Tuesday through to Thursday, where we're literally taking people through how to get started in PR, what your foundations are, what you need to think about, how to make yourself press ready and press friendly.
Here's the interesting thing. When you do stuff like this, for everybody listening, when Jo does stuff like this, she doesn't hold back. Like, you don't get any. So if you've got 3 days, where you can either engage in the moment or retrospectively with the things that are going on with Jo and Chocolate PR. Please get involved because they don't hold back. The value that you get from engaging is just insane.
And I think that's it's our contribution bit, isn't it? So this is the bit where we really just let it all out. We just share it with the hope that it's going to stick with some people, that it's going to get some people excited about sharing their message on a bigger level, and also just the collaboration and the community of, you know, really ramping up that vibe of celebrating each other. That's always like a gorgeous, gorgeous vibe. And we also put a playlist in there, which is a really fun one, which really gets you on the right mindset as well.
It would not be a Chocolate PR shenaniganery if it didn't have some sort of music attached to it or some sort of shenaniganery. It's my new word.
And then Friday, so we finish up Friday with yours truly and Jojo. And when I put this on the agenda, Jo Maloney was like, "What the hell is this going to turn into?" Well, who knows? So you are wrapping up with Jojo on Friday with a little celebration of like your journey and everything, but then we're going to end with a game called I've Never Have I Ever.
Are we playing that?
We're playing that.
Are you ready for me to play that? I've lived a little bit, you know, Jo.
I'm going to ask you some direct questions, so it's not a free-for-all. What we're going to get from there is we're going to see, you know, what little gems of things that there are out there that people for themselves. So they're going to answer their questions too. And there's going to be some focus, but I reckon there's also going to be a bit of fun with that. So you and Jo.
Always fun. There is always fun. So if you are watching, please do get involved with the PR party this week. How do we find out more about this? Maria's just asking, where will this be, Jo? Like, where will this be? How do we find out about this?
So this lives in our group called PR You Can Do It. And you can also register to be involved, which means you get all the catch-ups and you get a little extras through email. So I'll pop the link under so that you can make sure that you get all the goodies. So we've got so much going on, and you can just jump in and out as it suits you. You know, it's all there for you to come back to. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning, Jo. We work with Jo really, really closely on all of our PR. They are our partners in PR for all of the things. So anytime you see me in the press, it will be because of Jo and her team, who are phenomenal. They've held my hand every step of the IATQB journey. Things are about to hot up next level for us as well as we step into Be Inspired. And of course, the launch of the Fly Anyway Foundation. You can catch Jo as ever on stage as part of the PR panel for Be Inspired. We have a whole PR section as part of Be Inspired because it's so important. If you have got a means to help somebody out there, you guys, you need to be telling people about it. I can't think of a better way than, of course, speaking. I'm biased, I'm a speaking coach, but through the power of PR. Jo, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
I love you. Bye. So what a show. Slightly longer than usual, but totally packed with value. Really hope that it's got you thinking about some things this morning. Please don't forget, this evening at 7:30 p.m. you can join us for the Fly Anyway Foundation Town Hall Community Meeting. I'm going to be putting posts up across my socials and also in your emails with regards to how to get involved with that. Tonight we're going to share with you how we go from being a concept to a reality, how you can go from being a supporter to actively involved with helping survivors of domestic abuse plug into business goods and services. Eventually, we'll be looking at crisis support and management and refugees. But right now, we're going to be helping business builders, people that have experienced domestic abuse, build businesses and access employment through the Fly Anywhere Foundation. Please come and join us at 7:30 p.m. this evening to find out how you can get involved if you are so called to do so. Sending you all my love. I hope you have a fantastic Monday. Please let me know, as ever, in the comments, your intentions for the week. What do you want to get on with this week? What do you want to have completed by the end of this week? For me, I want as many of you as possible on this call tonight so that we can really start the work on the floor for the Fly Anyway Foundation. Have a phenomenal day. Have a phenomenal week. I'll see you on Wednesday for more showing up, wising up and rising up. If indeed I don't see you tonight, did I tell you? 7:30 Community Town Hall Meeting for the Fly Anyway Foundation. I'll see you then. Ciao.